The Cincinnati Reds have pulled off the improbable. A 4-game sweep of the Chicago Cubs now finds your Redlegs in the final wild card position with 6 games to go. We're going to talk about how they got here and where they're going on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Cincinnati Reds #1 daily podcast, the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr. His name's Steve Offenbaker. We are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans, been suffering with this team all through this crazy roller coaster season, and we could not be more fired up for the fact that they are in the driver's seat for the final wild card spot in the National League after a 4-game mopping of the Chicago Cubs. That season series for the Cincinnati Reds is owned, as they have now beaten the Chicago Cubs more times this season than the Chicago Cubs have beat them. Pretty sweet, pretty sweet. This has led to the Reds owning their own destiny. We're going to talk about how we got here, because quite frankly, we were talking about how they were dead just a few days ago, and here we are, and they're alive, and they're taking control of everything in their lives. We're going to talk about why we think this can be sustainable. We're going to talk about the pitfalls ahead, all on today's Locked On Reds podcast. That is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to www.5hourenergy.com today, or Amazon today as well. But Steve, we're fired up because the Cincinnati Reds just won 4 in a row. They tied their season series, or the season winning streak, because they won the last game of that St. Louis Cardinals series. So that's 5 in a row. They win one more, they're going to break their record for most wins in a row this season up to 6 games. I know that's like, whoa, dude. But at the same time, the way that they're playing right now, they are answering all of our doubts, because they are here in the final wild card spot with the tiebreaker that they own over those New York Metropolitans.
You know, here's the thing, Jeff. They got hot at exactly the right time. We've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for them to go on a run that didn't meet our expectations in the most frustrating way possible, but instead exceeded our expectations. And that's what they went out and did. They went out and won a 4-game series. They went out and swept a 4-game series against the Chicago Cubs, a series they absolutely had to have. At a time, they absolutely had to have it. Now, there's going to be the poo-pooers, the naysayers, the Debbie Downers out there that want to talk about, well, it's because, it's still just because the Mets are just falling apart. I don't care. I don't care why it's happening. It's happening. You and I both pretty much called it. We decided things were done. We didn't think this team had this in them. We didn't even ask them to do this. When we talked about this last week, Jeff, we said, please, God, just go out there and win 3 or 4. Win the series. You've got to win the series. Please, just do that. A split wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but don't do that. Win the series. They went out there and swept them, Jeff. 2 1-0 ball games. They won 2 1-0 ball games in this series. They hit lots of home runs. Despite Barry Larkin being scared of the rallies being killed, the Reds hit the home runs, and they won the games. It was a great weekend of baseball out at GABP.
There are a couple of different reasons that we're going to unpack as to why the Reds are where they are. I think there's multiple different reasons. I think that, Elly De La Cruz really starting to turn around, maybe get a second wind this season is a big deal. I think that the reemergence of Spencer Steer is a clutch bat, something that we talked about he was not doing. He turned around, he listened, and he took that personally. And that's exactly what he did this weekend. But honestly, the power for me is huge. But before we really dive into those power numbers for this series, we got to talk about the fact of playing clean baseball, Steve. There was clean baseball this weekend by this team, whether it be on the bases, whether it be defensively. Now, I know there was a moment where Noelvi Marte ran into Matt McLain there on Sunday, but Matt McLain was able to hold on to the ball. But we did not see the egregious, unforced self-inflictions that this team has given itself so many different times this season and has sunk any hopes, at the time that they had. But now they're all the way back and they're in the driver's seat because of that clean baseball.
I want to circle back to something you just said, talking about Spencer Steer and finding the power and finding the groove. This is the Spencer Steer we would all been waiting for. This is the Spencer Steer we had hoped he would be from opening day. Obviously, the shoulder got in the way. A lot of things derailed him, but this is the guy we thought he was going to be, who is now very quietly, without a lot of press, without any fanfare, without anybody even really noticing, is leading this Cincinnati Reds teams in home runs with 21. He's ahead of Elly by 1. And if those two want to play a game of back and forth the rest of the way, that would be beautiful. This is exactly what they needed when they needed it. Yeah, Elly has found his swing seemingly. He's stealing more bases in the last month, in the last 2 weeks rather than he had the previous month. So Elly's starting to run. He found his swing. Spencer Steer's hitting for power. Matt McLain looks comfortable. Everything's coming together right on time.
Well, and when you talk about Elly, like, I was kind of getting to the point that for the rest of this season, I was just, all right, they're not going to give him a day off. They're going to make him play every day. They move him down the lineup, whatever. I just want to see him break the homerless streak. I just want to see that happen. And I was there on Friday when he broke that homerless streak, going oppo taco, hitting lefty, going to left field. Love to see how that happened. And in that game where they hit 5 home runs, not something they've done yet all year, by the way, the most homers they've hit in one game, I just saw a different guy. It seemed as though the moment he hit that home run, he exhaled and he untensed his shoulders, because we've seen a guy that's really been pressing at the plate. And I mean, he went through his career, his worst career drought in home runs in 43 games in a row, but he finally broke that. Looked like he was having some better at bats the rest of this weekend. And I think that is kind of the thing. Like, Steve, this team has chose the absolute last minute to get as hot as you can get. But you know what? Everybody always says it's not if you get hot, it's when you get hot. And the Reds are picking the right time to be doing that right now. And Elly is the first reason why.
Yeah, you can look at his stat line. You just look at the slash, Jeff. 2 weeks ago, you take 2 weeks of games, his slash line was 200, 322, 320. And you cut that in half and you take his slash line for the last week. His slash line in this last week, Jeff, is 263, 462, 526. Big difference in production between 2 weeks ago and now.
I just think he's a better hitter when you tell him that, we just need you to get on base and be the catalyst, be the guy that starts the run scoring. Don't be the guy that leads the run score. That's confusing sounding, but don't be the RBI guy, be the run scoring guy. And I think that's who he needs to be the rest of his career. And we're seeing him excel. But back to your point on Spencer Steer, like, dude looks different right now. And you're right. Like, the shoulder was such a factor early on. It doesn't look like it's a factor at all now. And then there's clutch moments that he is coming up and he is delivering. And that's what this team needs. They don't have that consistent clutch guy. There's guys here and there, but it's not every time they come to the plate. You can expect that. I feel like Spencer Steer is getting back into that position, and that is going to be so key for them.
He is, Jeff. You want some fun numbers, a little sexy numbers here. Spencer Steer in the last 15 games, 310, 383, 619 in the last 2 weeks.
619. I like that.
Yeah, 619, 4 home runs in the last 15 games. His swing is right now. Spencer Steer is dialed in.
Yeah, and this is the best time to do it. I know we're going to talk a lot more about the Pirates tomorrow. We're really focused on this 4-game sweep that the Reds just have. 4-game mop of the Reds over the Cubs and where it's put them in this playoff race. The fact that the Washington Nationals, Steve, win 2 out of 3 over the New York Metropolitans and Jacob Young. I just want to
Jacob Young. Someone should be sending Jacob Young a gift basket. The Cincinnati Reds
foundation. We should
somebody should be doing something. If you didn't see these catches, if you're listening and you have not seen Jacob Young's catches in yesterday's Mets Nationals game, get on social media, get online and go check him out, because his first catch was a crazy hacky sack catch where he drops a ball, kicks it back up into the air and then scoops it. And then his second catch in the 9th inning prevented a Mets comeback, is exactly what it did. The Mets were about to tie the game and Jacob Young goes and pulls a home run back and gets the Nationals that second win of the series. Jacob Young single-handedly helped propel the Reds into a wild card spot yesterday.
I really feel like there's just something about this Mets team that they just can't seem to get over it. And I don't understand it. I think I saw an article in The Athletic a week or so ago from I forget who wrote it now, but I saw the article in The Athletic, and it was all about the fact that the locker room is kind of not in disarray, but it's a tense place right now for the New York Mets. And that's just awful. I hate it for him.
Terrible.
Really
Aren't you
do.
sad for them? But
I'm
listen,
so
Jeff,
sad.
there are lots more things to talk about the Reds pulling off this sweep, about them getting into the wild card spot, about what's coming up, what they've got to do. We got lots more things. We got more things to talk about, especially the pitching. We're going to do that coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Zippix toothpicks. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. These things are great. I have got the watermelon peppermint one right here for energy boost. It's got me flying high after a Reds win, let me tell you. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and that hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be helpful as a tool for you as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. It's available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligram and 3 milligram of nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, these are for you. You can get their caffeine-infused toothpicks. These watermelon ones are really, really tasty, and they give me the energy boost I need. It is a game changer. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com and use the code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix toothpicks. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love the most about how these things taste is that you don't feel like you're drinking a medicine, or they're fun to drink. They give you the energy boost that you need. They keep you going throughout your day. And like they said, there is no crash. Take them out on the golf course, take them to work with me. They get me through a busy shift at the hospital, and they get me through 18 holes of subpar golf on most days. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in-store or online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Make sure you are subscribed. Click that subscribe button. Click that notification bell. You don't want to miss anything we've got coming your way as the Reds chase the postseason. That's right. I said it in late September. The Cincinnati Reds are chasing the postseason. Make sure you're subscribed because we are going to be on fire the rest of the way. All right, Jeff, let's get back into this because I tell you what, on top of timely hitting and a home run barrage, I mentioned earlier the Reds won not one, but 2 games, 1-0. And that is not Cincinnati Reds baseball, at least not lately. Hunter Greene, of course, goes out and pitches the shutout complete game where he was just absolutely the man, the ace, reminding everybody in baseball exactly who he is. But then they go out and do it again to complete the sweep in much less a dominant way from the starting pitching, because Andrew Abbott was really a little struggly at times, but the bullpen had his back. Everybody came in and got their job done. It wasn't without some interesting things along the way, but when they had to bear down and shut down that Cubs lineup, they did. They got the job done. They completed the sweep.
We are talking about a Cubs lineup that has put together a better run differential than the Dodgers. The Cubs have a better run differential than the Dodgers. So the fact that they have been that good all year long and that the Reds were able to shut them out, and they did it in 2 different ways, Steve. I mean, Hunter Greene is much more fresh than everybody else in this pitching staff because of his time spent on the injured list. So I love to see that he was able to do that. I mean, he was 8 pitches away from a Maddox, a complete game shutout with less than 100 pitches. That's how efficient he was. We're talking about Hunter Greene that early on in his career threw 107 pitches in 5 innings, let alone 9. And so we're seeing the growth when he's been healthy this year. But outside of that, the way that they were able to win on Sunday was far different because they're relying on tired arms. Andrew Abbott looked tired. Andrew Abbott looked like he's gotten to that point in the season where it's like, oh boy, boys, let's see what we got. We'll give you what I have. And I'm not sure how much that is. And credit to Tito for noticing that. Credit to Tito for being ready the moment that he thought it was done and not saying, you know what, let's get him through 5. Let's get him the win. Let's get him, through 6 or whatever it might be. He was like, no, we're pulling the trigger right now. Nick Martinez coming in with some very admirable pitching. And Graham Ashcraft, honestly, looks really good right now. His last couple of appearances here against the Cubbies, I think, have totaled like 17 pitches for 2 innings. I mean, he's been fantastically efficient. But for me, I just want to give Tony Santillan a big-time shout-out. 3 straight days. And I get it. He walked a couple of people, and people hate it when relief pitchers coming out to bullpen and walk people. I'm one of the top on that list. But he was able to pitch all around that because his stuff is still dominant despite the fact that he has worked so many games. And he's worked 3 games in a row now. So going into this off day, he still told Tito, credit to him, I'm available. If you need me, I got it. He comes in, get the gritty save. 1-0. I cannot believe how this pitching staff really gritted their way through Sunday's ball game.
Yeah. Graham Ashcraft looked good. Tony Santillan looked good. I liked what I saw from this bullpen, even with the walks and for the reasons that you suggested. I want to circle back to you talking about Tito for a minute, because listen, we've called out some of the stuff that Tito has done along the way and some of the things he's done this season that we didn't necessarily agree with. And we've never said he was on a hot seat or called for him to be gone, but we have called him out when he needed to be called out. Over the last week, his style has changed. And I think Terry Francona is in postseason mode. He is managing this team right now like these are playoff series, because essentially they are. And it has turned into the Reds playing their best baseball of the year. And I kind of wish it was like this all along, but I'm happy that it's happening right now. But to your point, I had sent to our group chat. We have a Locked On group chat, folks, with me, Jeff, and Tim Daniel. And I had sent a text that had just said, I don't know that I would let Andrew Abbott go back out there and pitch the 5th. And sure enough, they let him, but had somebody warming up already. That's different than how things have been run. That's different than how they do things in a regular season mindset. So hats off to Terry for a really effective job of managing this team over the last week and getting them scratching and clawing back into playoff contention.
Well, and even on top of how he's managing the pitching staff, and I wish I had clipped it before mentioning it, but what he said about Tyler Stevenson's home run on Saturday night, somebody asked him, what was that at bat like? And he said, well, Tyler came up to me before the at bat and said, if and I'm blanking on it, but if he walks in front of me, do you want me to bunt? And Tito said, I looked at him, I said, no, I want you to deposit it into the 3rd row. And that's exactly what he did. And I think that he has turned a corner, like you mentioned. He sees the vision of what's coming next. And while we have belabored different points about this and that, we've not loved some of the things that he has done managerially, he is starting to prove that he's adding on to the wins. I mean, we already have 2 more wins than we saw last year, and the season ain't done yet. They got a chance here, Steve, if they win out, to get 85 wins. And I said they'd be like an 84-win ball club. I'm sorry, 86 wins. I said they'd be like an 84-win ball club. So to kind of stretch it up like that, 85, 86 wins, that's definitely his effect, because as we have mentioned, this roster is still the same roster that we had problems with. It's just they're starting to perform above their heads. And if they can keep doing that from now through whatever playoff run they have, then this could be a lot more fun than just, we made it on into the wild card, gosh darn. They might see a little bit more of October. They might come home for a game or 2 in October. See that? Oh, that would be fun.
Oh, I paid my deposit already for postseason tickets, so let's see what happens. I will say this about Terry Francona, Jeff. We talk about all the time what true impacts can a manager have? Like, they're not out there taking at bats, they're not out there throwing pitches. Right. What difference does it really make? Does it really matter a whole lot? These are the situations where it matters a whole lot. Right now, the Reds have a seasoned veteran manager who has seen a lot and done a lot and had a lot of success. And this is the time where that type of manager can pick this team up and say, all right, boys, we're here now. This is what we've got to do to finish the job. This is what we've got to do to get to that postseason. This is what we've got to do to win a postseason series for the first time in a lot of people listening to this show's lifetime. So that's the difference that Francona can have. We've talked about it all year long. What real difference? Francona, Bell, does it matter? It matters right now. It matters big time right now.
Because Andrew Abbott, like thinking of this, like there is a thought process that there could have been of like, well, if we let him push through it, this is the furthest he's ever pitched into a season. This might really help him like personal career growth and all this other stuff. And Terry Francona was like, bump all that. We're trying to win this ball game, and this is how we're going to go do it. And I'm with you. It was a fantastic change in how he has managed this ball club. And I think that is a key moving forward because we're seeing some different things out of some different guys. So what are we worried about? What's the pitfalls here? How does this go wrong? As much as we don't want to admit it, as much as we don't want to talk about it, there's definitely some things to be worried about. We'll talk about that next. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There's so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you need to give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement that is clinically tested, that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. I love this stuff. I've actually been using it for a little bit while. I mean, I've got the genes that say it's probably something I need to be worried about. Nutrafol helps me be less worried about that. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. Most people get really busy in life and almost too busy to really monitor their finance. I mean, some of us are watching our playoff teams win in the regular season. Oh my goodness, I really hope this happens. But you know what? Monarch Money is going to help you monitor your finances all in one place, whether it be your credit accounts, your debit accounts, your investment accounts. They're all on one page. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I mean, quite frankly, me and spreadsheets, I use those more than, for statistics on baseball than I do for my own finances. So Monarch Money is key with this. You got to check out Monarch Money today. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB. If you can't watch the show on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app. We're on every single one of them. Go check us out there today. And also make sure you check out Locked On MLB Game Night here on the Locked On MLB channel after today's show. They watch every game, every night, all the way through the World Series conclusion so that you don't have to. They'll keep you up on the league each and every day. All right, Steve. So with all of this excitement, there are still 6 games left, and we're going into 3 games at home against the Pirates. And on paper, that's a good thing. But the Reds have not looked good in situations on paper this year. Now, they have been 6-4 against the Pirates so far in this season, but they really need 2 out of 3. Honestly, I'd argue, and they're facing Paul Skeens in game 2, so it's really hard for me to say they should get a sweep. But when you look at all of this, and they're going to have to take it each and every day, I think my biggest worry is one of my biggest reasons that I was happy on Sunday, and that is the fatigue of this bullpen. Because we've come to the point in the season where everybody's just being used so much.
Yeah, I'm less worried about that. I think the adrenaline's going to take over for these guys in the bullpen right now. This is meaningful baseball in the last week of the season. If they can't dig deep with that, there's nothing that's going to make them dig deep. Here's what I'm concerned about. We talk about the things we're worried about. Seen a lot of difference in this team over the last week, from managing to how they're performing to the things they're doing to the results. Lots of difference. The next evolution of that, the next thing I need to see is I need them to go out and win this Pittsburgh Pirates series, because in the past, earlier this season, they would beat a team and we would be like, yeah, here they go. And then they would play the Chicago White Sox and lose the series. And they would beat a team and we'd be like, yeah, here they go. And then they lose a series to the Washington Nationals. That's been their MO. So if they've truly turned this corner, they go out and win 2 of 3 from the Pittsburgh Pirates. And you're right, they're going up against Skeens. I can't wait to talk about that game. Spoiler alert, folks, it's Paul Skeens against Hunter Greene in meaningful baseball the final week of the season. I cannot wait to talk about that game. But that's my concern. That's really the next thing I need to see from this team, Jeff. That's really the next thing that'll make me, if they go out and win this Pirate series, I'm kind of going to be a believer. I'm going to be, they have turned a corner believer.
And maybe that's the overarching worry, right? It's not even necessarily just the Pirates. It's the fact that they've done this too many times, where it feels as though they get to a successful, quote unquote, point of the season, and they're like, job's done. Job's not done. You got 6 games left. And as much as we are excited and losing our minds and I'm yelling into cameras and all this other stuff, it's fun for us to be able to do that. The players can't be doing that right now because there's still too many games left, to the point that I think 4-2 is the baseline, because as much as the Mets have really been collapsing here recently, I just don't know that you can continue to expect that. Like, there's a really good chance the Mets go 4-2. There's a really good chance they do beat the Cubs, and then they beat the Marlins 2 out of 3, and then they, 4-2. So the Reds have to, at worst, match what the Mets do the rest of the year. That's going to be the big thing with this, is that they cannot get it outside of themselves. And I go back to the value of Terry Francona with this, because I feel like that is the reason that at every point this year that we have thought that they are done, they weren't. And it's because of Terry Francona. That's that intangible thing that there is no statistic, there is no analytic, there is no thing that measures it. But it feels as though Tito is the right guy to pull them out of the mental pretzel that they can twist themselves into with success and with failure.
Yeah, I think a couple things on that. I love that the Mets now have to go play a really pissed off Chicago Cubs team. Like, the Cubs are angry. They're very unhappy right now. I love that for us. I love that for the Cubs. And then they catch the Brewers in the final game of the series, where the Brewers have nothing to play for. Their position is locked up. Their playoff is secured. I think they're going to rest people. They're going to try and set up their pitching to benefit them in the postseason. I like where the Reds are catching this. So 4-2 is the absolute floor. They could lose one of the Pittsburgh games, and I guess they could lose one of the Brewers games, and everything will work out. If the Cubs do a thing for us, we could go into that Brewer series where it doesn't matter a whole lot, other than you just got to go out there and play well. And that's what I'm hoping for. I hope we get to this Brewer series and things have kind of been decided. That would be great.
Yeah, because I'm seeing things like reports on the Brewers that they're like, well, they think they're going to put Jacob Mizorowski in the bullpen or something like that. I do find that kind of intriguing, though, Steve, because I felt like the Brewers had the plan in place for Jacob Mizorowski to finish the year out however they wanted him to finish the year out. And I thought that the Reds were behind with Chase Burns on doing the same thing. Now it looks completely the opposite. It looks like the Reds knew what they were doing all along, and the Brewers are the ones that are like, wait, Reds, how'd you guys do that again? Can I copy off that test? And so that's fun to see. But at the same time, like, the Reds got to go out there and they got to do the thing. That's 3 more home games. They've got 640, 640, 1240. That final home game, that Thursday day game. I think, did we mention that's Lodolo against Braxton Ashcraft?
Right.
That's an interesting matchup there. And then the Milwaukee series, like, how did the Reds do this? Because on Wednesday, you've got Hunter Greene. You could see him pitch on Sunday, or do you save him for that wild card game? Like, that's going to be the fun one for me, because if they win the first 2, they can play with house money in the final game of the season. And
some of that depends on what happens in this Mets Cubs series, Jeff. I mean, if there's some breathing room, you do save Hunter Greene. If there's not clear cut breathing room, you have to pitch him the final game of the season. You just absolutely have to.
We keep looking at this And the fact that the Reds have this starting pitching staff that they do, and they get into a wild card series where you got to win 2 out of 3, man, I love the Reds' chances, and I know who they will be facing. You know who that's going to be, Steve? The Los Angeles Dodgers. And I still have every belief in this pitching staff to get the thing done against the Dodgers in the wild card. You just got to get there. And these next 6 games, man, these are the biggest 6 games that we've had as a podcast. And I am so excited.
I am jumping for joy. And just as we close out today, if you guys didn't catch it for funsies, jump in the Locked On YouTube channel, go to the shorts section, and you not only will you get to see Jeff's best impression of a WWE promoter as he was just immediately after the final out of the Reds game, losing his mind, but then we get a special guest appearance from Greg Carr, father of Jeff Carr, with his own live on the spot game report from Great American Ballpark. In fact, I bet the party is still going down by the ballpark. Let's check in with Greg Carr.
Woo! Sorry, I thought I was timing that with you, but yeah.
Party's still going on. One more time. Greg Carr. I think the excitement apple didn't fall very far from the tree there, Jeff.
Absolutely not. And that is where we're going to end today's podcast. Thank you so much for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. Make sure you are subscribed and you don't miss anything. Make Locked On Reds part of your everyday routine, because we're going to be with you all throughout the rest of this week, all throughout hopefully a postseason run, all throughout the offseason as they get set to be division contenders next year, not just wild card contenders. Man, we're getting ahead of ourselves, because I'm real happy about where the Reds are right now on this September 21st, 2025, because the Reds are in a wild card spot. We'll see you guys tomorrow, because, we are a Locked On Reds every single day. Woo!
Not far from the tree at all.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so happy.